often get asked, which of the three funding scenarios did the strata choose? This question inevitably comes up each and every time I'm working with a condo purchaser. They often don't like to hear what I have to say to them, which is none of the scenarios really hold true in reality. The Depreciation Report is a provincially mandated report that does a review of the physical and financial health of the strata corporation. An engineer takes a physical inventory of the common property assets, estimates the remaining lifespan, and then estimates the potential cost of replacement or renewal in future dollars. So with all these costs in mind, the engineers come up with 3 contingency reserve fund cash flow scenarios based on their projected expenditure items. The first scenario is typically the current allocation, the current status quo. If the strata continued doing what it's already doing, what will the financial projection show in terms of special levies, special assessments down the road? The second scenario is typically one where the status quo is matched with an incremental annual increase to the contingency reserve fund contribution. So you got to keep in mind that your monthly strata payment is broken down into 2 components, the operating fund and the contingency fund. They are separated out. In the second scenario that we're talking about, this engineer typically picks a rate of 10 to 30% and increases the contingency component so that any near-term special levies would be substantially reduced or eliminated. Then you have the third scenario, and this is typically called the progressive allocation. And this is a much more aggressive scenario that aims to strike a balance between maintaining a healthy contingency fund while also reducing the potential for over-contributing should some items not require renewal or replacement. So this scenario typically has sharp 50 to 90% increases in the contingency reserve fund contribution component of the strata fees, and then I also tend to notice it predicts sharp decreases in the contingency reserve fund contributions after the completion of anticipated projects. So this really aims to reduce or eliminate all special levies in the near term while having a healthy fund. So it's only natural that buyers ask me which scenario has the strata chosen or which scenario is going to happen, but these are just projections, and I get it, they do sometimes look scary. Large costs like a building envelope renewal, a parquet membrane replacement, or a window replacement can rack up tens of millions of dollars in a high-rise concrete building. Oftentimes, the clients forget that these costs are simply estimates at an inflated future value, a best guess you could say, and that any cost would be shared among all the units as per their unit entitlement. Most of these reports simply just divide it by the number of units, but in reality it goes by your unit entitlement, which you can ask your realtor about. So here's an example. Let's say the depreciation report says the exterior cladding needs to be replaced in 2030. That's 9-10 years from now. And it assigns a value of $5 million. So this is a large figure, and the scenarios would cause a big dent into the contingency reserve fund in 2030 due to this cost. So in reality, the strata typically approaches these maintenance items very differently than what is projected. If there is no existing issues stemming from this common building asset, the exterior cladding, the strata corporation will likely commission the engineer to conduct another report that specifically targets this maintenance item, the exterior envelope. The depreciation report is just a high-level overview and guesstimate on the average service life of an asset. It does not actually look deeply at the asset to determine is it doing better, worse, or on par with its anticipated service life. It just doesn't go deeply enough. So the strata will commission this report, and perhaps it will come back and say that the cladding system is in excellent condition and will exceed its anticipated service life. So in this situation, the report would typically suggest preventative maintenance options to help that asset maintain its good quality. So this could be a sealant renewal around the cladding to ensure it maintains its good condition long into the future. And this is a much cheaper preventative maintenance outcome, much different than what was anticipated in the depreciation report. Alternatively, let's say perhaps the report did reveal that the cladding system is in generally good condition, but on some areas or on some exposures of the building, the cladding is in rough shape or showing signs of failure or water ingress. So this suggests that only a portion of the cladding system needs replacement or renewal. The strata can then evaluate if spot replacement is possible or if replacing the entire system is more effective given the circumstances. Another possibility is perhaps this report suggests the cladding system should be replaced in 8 to 10 years, just as the depreciation report predicted. Well, in this case, there are many strategies a strata corporation can deploy. It can start increasing its contributions. It can look to do a phased approach of the replacement over 2 to 3 years, meaning it spreads the cost over time to reduce the burden on the contingency reserve fund and special levies on owners. The strata corporation can also look at using other materials or systems that may be more cost effective. The strata corporation could start to obtain actual quotes for the work to be done, which may come in lower than the $5 million figure reported in this estimated depreciation report. The strata can also look at its investment maturities. Many stratas with large amounts of cash in their contingency funds invest in GICs and bonds, and they'd want to match their maturities with these larger projects. And then it can even look at financing common property assets. Some strata corporations own a caretaker unit, which it has the ability to borrow against through a first mortgage for funding. As you can see, the scenario and the depreciation report rarely plays out in reality. The perfect world of financial modeling is just that. It doesn't reflect what will likely happen. There's a number of options and strategies that stratas have in their tool belt to protect them and smooth out the bumps. So overall, these depreciation report scenarios really need to be taken with a grain of salt. There is no perfect scenario. The best you can do is look at the annual amount of contributions to the contingency reserve fund. If you see it increasing year over year, it means the strata is progressive and choosing to smooth out the bumps the best it can for potential maintenance items in the future. The predictions of the funding scenario are just that, predictions, best guesses, and theoretical lifespan scenarios that the engineer must apply. They are simply there for regulatory compliance and serve as a guide. So if you're considering buying or selling in a strata condominium building, I'd welcome the opportunity to work with you. I'm very familiar with many of the top buildings in the Victoria region. My name is Dustin Miller, managing broker of 8X Real Estate. For the latest market news and information, visit my website, victoriamarket.ca, or give me a ring at 778-678-9815. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.